Hi, I'm Jana Niksa, the authentic sales coach. Please definitely tune into this episode where Kim and I dive so deep into childhood wounds all the way through blazing trails as a female entrepreneur, doing it the way women were intended to and letting spirituality lead the way. So I hope you will join us because this is just the beginning. We'll talk and see you soon.
Welcome to the show. I am so happy you are here. You are going to be so happy you're here. I'm Kim Sorrelle. I am a speaker. I'm an author. I just got to speak at the UN. That was so fun. I get to do so many fun things in life, but my favorite thing to do is to meet people. And I get to meet some of the most extraordinary people that walk on the face of this earth. And today, you get to be introduced to my good friend, Jana. She is an amazing woman who should be known by everybody. I just adore her for so many reasons. She's so real, first of all. I think authenticity is so important, and she is just who she is. What you see today is what you'd see if you saw her in person. She's very pro people. She loves people. She loves to serve. She's got this huge servant's heart that just wants people to succeed and people to do well. She's a great mom. She's a great wife. She just is doing it all and doing it all in a balanced, wonderful way. And I just admire and love her so much. So without further ado, Jana, welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness. What an intro. Thank you so much, Kim. I
Yeah.
really am so thrilled to be here.
Well, I am so thrilled that you're here. We've been talking about doing this for a while. Finally, it's here. Yay. Now we get to talk. And so, Jana, I want people to get to know you. And so I want to start with you telling us about 8-year-old Jana.
Oh my goodness. 8-year-old Jana. Well, I was already tearing up before the show, and now here we go. Um, 8-year-old Jana, especially, I'll even say 10-year-old Jana. There was something that happened between my earlier years of fearlessness and being bossy me, because that's who I was, take it or leave it. And just wanting to play and have fun and be in joy and create dances and make everybody in the neighborhood do them. And then around between 8 and 10, somewhere in there, a lot of things happened, but I don't want it to be about, my parents got divorced, but it wasn't even about that. There was something that changed in me. And all of a sudden, it became so much less about that fun, crazy stuff to caring what other people thought, feeling not good enough. And it really set in early for me. And I don't know why, I mean, we could of course like blame the parents, and they had their share of things, don't get me wrong, but it was me. Like there was something that came in at some point, and it just I went from like this fearless, like let's just do the thing, whatever it is, to hiding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That yeah, that it's so sad.
I
I
know.
think it happens to kids for different reasons. You know, your folks support divorcing. Of course, I'm sure the divorce had something to do with it because they say kids wonder if they're to blame, and that kind of thing, so whatever's playing in the back of people's minds, right, when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But also, we're told things about ourselves that aren't necessarily true, by teachers, by parents, by even some very well-meaning people. But when they say you can't or you don't or that's wrong or that's inappropriate or stop daydreaming or whatever, it affects kids
Yeah.
hearing those words. I mean, it affects us as an adult, and how much more as a kid looking up to adults thinking, well, adults know everything, they know their stuff, so if they're saying it, it must be true, right? And so we
Absolutely.
suck all that negative stuff in, and it can be really hard to get rid of. So how did that affect you, like through the rest of schooling, like through high school and beyond?
It's really interesting. I tell my children, I have two girls, and I tell them this story a lot. because I think we all feel like an outsider, but nobody knows that. Because one of my really good friends was all the things, right? Like everything, like just play whatever high school movie. She was that girl, and then later in life, you find out she felt like an outcast. She felt like she didn't have friends. And so, I don't know how much of it is just those years because I always had friends, I always did things, but there was some element there of not enoughness, not quite fitting in, not feeling quite pretty enough to get the guy. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, like and it really did follow me. Honestly, even in college, I think I started to like settle a little bit more into who I was, but I was so immersed in like getting good grades then. Like I did the opposite. I had the opposite college experience of like most people. Like that's when I really got serious about it. Like I wanted to do like the MD PhD thing. And I was like anything less than a 4.0 is like, ugh. So, you know, that performance, not enoughness, it took on different forms, is what I'm trying to say. By college, I felt a little more comfortable in my own skin, and then I'm compensating in other ways over here, right? And that really did follow me well into a few years of my sales career. But yeah, so that version of me from the outside looking in probably looked pretty good, but being on the inside, there was just so much insecurity, so
Mm,
much insecurity, you know?
mm, yeah. Well, and that's a tough thing to overcome. It's a tough thing to kind of admit, I think,
Yeah.
even, that especially when you're that 4.0 MD PhD, whatever it is you're going for in life, right? And
Yeah.
and then but there's this underlying insecurity when you look from the outside like you're so secure and you've got your act together in every single way. you, to admit that there were insecurities is already tough, right? To throw it out there, but then to deal with those insecurities. So
Well, oh, I wanted to this what you just said brought something up because people don't see like, one of our mentors, right? Eileen will say like, and I think it's actually a quote from Brendan Burchard, but like your internal narrative is not market reality, right? And one of my friends not that long ago told me about, and I don't even remember being this way in high school, Kim, but this was the perception. She goes, I failed my math test. And I was like, well, did you study? Like, did you try? And she's like, no. And I'm like, well, there you go. And I'm like, I can't even believe like that, the way I remember who I was and whatever that is. I'm like shocked because that sounds, well, a little bit rude, but also confident, like
very confident, right?
bold, like speaking my mind. And that would be none of the things that I would have described myself as. And it's just so interesting, like the incongruence. So I know you were going to ask me something, but I just thought that was so interesting. Like, I mean, they all thought I really knew like what I was doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's I think the other part of it that's interesting is that even though you had these insecurities, you were able to put on this no, I'm confident, I can do it. Go get it, go win, whatever winning is, right? And but this underlying thing, and you mentioned the girl and your friend that you thought was on top of the world and later admitted that she had insecurities. I think that's part of life. I think, we do have this internal narrative going on in our heads, and we see ourselves differently than the world sees us.
Mhm.
And, sometimes I think, might be interesting to kind of take a poll. Like, how do people look at you? And then I go, oh no, I don't want to know. Because what if
Right.
it's bad? I don't want to know. Maybe they'll say something that I don't like. And plus we are who we are. Like I think it's okay to not be there's some people in the world that throughout history that you'd look at and go, wow, they lack zero. They are so confident. They lack nothing in the confidence center. Like they are triple, they went in the line for confidence 8 times, 10 times. They stole other people's confidence. Like they're so confident, right? There are some of those people, and I think they're called egomaniacs often, or narcissists even might be a term that
Delusional.
could be used, right? But so I think it's okay to be human and go, I'm good at some stuff. There's no doubt I'm good at some stuff, but there's other stuff. I rely on other people. I need them to tell me I'm doing okay. I need advice, right? I know that there's people that are better at whatever than I do. So it's I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to just be human and
100%.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And let yourself be that way. Yeah. So all right, so you go through life and you've got this underlying insecurity, but you're doing it. But at the same time, on the outside, you're doing it.
I
You're
guess.
working it, you're doing it. You meet this guy, you fall in love, you have these two
Oh, I
beautiful
wish that
girls.
was it. I really spent a lot of my, I came up during like when Jerry Maguire was a big thing, right? Like that movie, remember, like you complete me. And so I did. I don't know. I wouldn't trade anything. I'm where I am today because of how it all went down. So I'm grateful for it. But oh man, I didn't meet the guy. You know what I didn't marry the guy from high school, college, even after college, that serious boyfriend. And it was tough, because I felt incomplete. And so, I think a lot of that self-worth stuff started to be projected into maybe, just finding that significant other will balance me out. And so I did spend really the majority of my 20s like, where is he? Where is he? You know? And but simultaneously, it all happens as it should, right? Because I created a really nice career for myself whilst I was on my mission for love. And yeah, so it was definitely not easy. And I really would look at some people that just kind of found that love early on and think that they're so lucky.
Well, I think there's some truth to that. Like I really think when it's the one. Like there's something special about somebody that you go, wow, they're the one. They're it, and not everybody gets that through life. Sometimes it's a friendship that's built and there's a relationship well before anything romantic, or there's a getting to know and then slowly kind of falling for them or whatever. But for the people that get that, oh my word, he walked into the room and that was it.
And it's
They just
16 years old. I mean, there's stories
exactly.
from people in my high school and they are happily married to this day. And it's like, wow, wow.
Ah, yeah, exactly. And that is really special. Not everybody gets it, but it doesn't mean you have to have a bad relationship. You can have a great relationship. It's just coming from a different way, happening a different way. And it's interesting that you said that you felt incomplete, because I think that's another societal thing, right? We put pressure on women and our clocks are ticking.
Yeah.
Like if you want a child, and it is becoming more and more normal for women to freeze their eggs. Babies are born much later than they used to be. And women are getting married close to 40 or 40 or beyond and still want children, of course. And some women are having kids alone because they really want kids, but they're not finding anyone they want to reproduce with. And so it is a thing. It is a thing. I mean, I think women in general, not all women, there's a lot of people that choose not to have kids. That's fine, whatever people's choices are. But a lot of us, there is something in us that really wants offspring. Like we really want children. And that's tough. If you're getting older, you watch the years go by.
Yeah.
And because after 35, it's called a geriatric pregnancy. What a horrible
Ask me how
word.
I know.
That's such a horrible word. They really need to change that word because babies are being born all the time. Women in their 30s, 40s, right? Late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, late 40s, I don't know. But anyway, it there is pressure. And then you go to the family stuff and they're like, "Jana, have you met anybody? Jana,
Oh
when are you going to
gosh.
have a family? Jana, when are you going to find somebody? Jana, I got somebody to fix you up with." I mean, it's just, right? All those pressures.
Oh man, I hadn't thought about that in years, but yes. Oh, it was so uncomfortable. I mean, I already felt like an element of like black sheep in my family, just in general, since I was young. Like I just thought a lot differently. I challenged, societal programming, let's say, and now you throw me in, 27, 28, and I'm still coming to all the family functions sitting at the kid table, you know? And it's like, oh, geez. And I think they didn't even, I don't even remember if they did try to fix me up. I think they felt like I'm not even gonna like go there. And so it was, but it's so funny because now my husband and I both prefer to sit at the kids' table. Like if we can make that happen, we're gonna go sit with our kids and whatever other kids. Um, and so yeah, it was such an uncomfortable time frame. I mean, it really was. Maybe some of your listeners can relate but from that, like, I don't know, 8, 10, well into my 20s, even though I was successful in these other things, like I just hadn't quite found me, you know?
Mm, yeah, yeah. Well, and we were talking before we went on air about the fact that business is still so male,
Yes.
right? And so much of business is still so male. As women, we work our way up the ladder, we fight hard to get there, and if you say things in a certain way, they use the B word for you. A man says it the same way. He's just being assertive and
Yeah.
he's just, authoritative, whatever. And so it's different being a woman, and we wear suits and we do whatever to fit into that world, but we really need to fit into our own world. And which isn't always an easy thing to do because it's a real shift in the way business is done, but we bring something incredible to the table that men don't bring. And we need to recognize that and own it. And so here you are, you've got this incredible job in your 20s, working hard, making bank, making a lot of money. And so I would think even with dating, it would be a little different because when you're 18, 19, 20, or you're in college even and you're dating, neither one of you have a job. You got potential, right? You got potential, but you're not, banking a lot of money. And so when you're like, even me at my age, I've been single, my husband died several years ago. I look at men that I maybe potentially want to date, although those years are behind me, I believe now. But anyway, and I think, well, I don't want someone who hasn't accomplished something in life, or I don't want somebody who, and it sounds shallow sometimes in my head, but the reality is you're going to relate differently to people who are also ambitious, also driven, also whatever. Like you couldn't be with somebody who has zero ambition or isn't your cheerleader in any way, or, all the things that you need once you have started to find or have found success. So that narrowed your pool.
Yes, it really well, and add insult to injury because I lived in South Florida, like on the West Coast. So anybody that's listening, like my territory was Port Charlotte because I was in sales and like Punta Gorda, like AKA retirement snowbird. So it was like really rare to meet people even your age, much less like educated and like going somewhere. And so yeah, the dating pool was teeny. And like the more grown up version of me now, would have, if I were to go back to that time, I would have just sat peacefully and surrendered to it's not now. Like just do you. Like here's your gift. do you? But man, Kim, I could not take that advice from people. Like at the time, it was so hard because like you said, I was in a hurry. Like I was like, where's my guy? Like I need to have X, Y, and Z. Like I've got the career. Da, 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 da. Let's check these boxes. And, not to mention, like you said, that clock piece. And so it was definitely difficult. And I wish again, I would never change anything. I'm so grateful for my path. But it would have been a lot easier if I had just kind of relaxed into just that season and not looking over my shoulder, like, where is he? Where is he?
There is so much wisdom to what you just said. And hindsight, of course, is 2020, but and I sometimes I think, wouldn't it be nice to have a crystal ball and go, oh, you're going to get married at this age, and oh, you're going to have kids at this age, and so then the pressure's off because you're like, oh, well, then it's not right now, and everything's fine, and it's okay. So I'll just be me and just live me, whatever that looks like. But there isn't a crystal ball, and there is something special about the not having a crystal ball
It's
and
part
just
of the
kind of
game,
having to
right?
do life, right? Yeah. But just kind of having to do life. But what incredible advice you're giving younger you and probably a lot of people listening. Like just live in the moment, be in the moment. I think it's great to have goals and whatever, but also just use your intuition and just be in the moment and cherish today. So I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in the future and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, especially as driven women,
Yes.
whatever, and that we lose today, that we can so lose today. And today probably has really great things for you, but if you're not there for it, you're not going to know it.
Absolutely. Well, and you flash forward to after I had my second child, I did check all the boxes. It's like Jim Carrey says, like, I hope everybody gets everything they want or makes $1 million, whatever it is. Like I like to say everything you want because it's not just about money. So that you realize that's not it.
Mm.
And that was probably like the lowest point. So here you are, like your whole life working towards the thing. And, it's like work really hard in school so you can get into a good college and then work really hard there so you can get the good job and then meet the guy and have the kids. And what happens when that yellow brick road runs out? And that's how I felt, because if we go back to your very first question around like, who was 8-year-old Jana? All that time, that 8-year-old girl in me was needing something to complete her. So if it wasn't in the job, it must be in the husband. If it wasn't in the husband, it must be in the kids. If it's not in the kids, where is it? And
Mm.
so, I often tell when I'm telling my story, I often talk about like I hit my rock bottom and my mountaintop at the very same time. And unfortunately, at that point, I didn't have spirituality in my life, and so, but what it did do, and this is why I truly believe you do get what you need, and it is all happening for you because it forced me to go within because I had done all the outer stuff. And that was kind of like the turning point for me was, well, and it wasn't easy. I'm making it sound like, well, guess got to go inwards. No, it was a crash and burn, like depression, you know, drinking too much, like all of the sabotage. Like it was, I don't deserve this. You know what I mean? Like, luckily, just for whatever it's worth, I am still happily married and, you know, all of the things. But that's another thing, Kim. Like, thank goodness I didn't meet him at 22 because I did change. And thank goodness it was him that I married because that moment, that mountaintop and rock bottom, changed me forever. I wouldn't be sitting here with you today had that not happened. And had I not married somebody that wasn't, like he's so supportive and not stuck in his ways and doesn't need it to be and lets me spread my that's such a weird word, but like supports me to spread my wings and you know luckily I married him because if it hadn't been for that, like I probably wouldn't still be. Because I'll leave it like this. I've changed so much since that 29-year-old girl. And had he been more of that rigid, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he's along for the ride. He's along for the expansion. He's along for the conscious evolution and the spiritual work. And yeah, I mean, to anybody out there that's feeling maybe some of the stuff that I felt, like, trust that it is happening exactly as it should, even
Mm.
when it looks like it's blowing up in your face.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. That's really great advice. And yeah, to have somebody by your side through that when you're in the depths
Oh, and
of
I was.
despair. Yeah.
Well, when all you've been told your entire life runs out, like it's like the yellow bricks, like Dorothy's going down the yellow brick road, and then it just is, and it's like, where do you go? Like, there's no map at that point. Like, there was no more boxes to check, and it was a beautiful place to be. Not everybody. I'm very grateful that I was able to get to that point. But yeah, it's also very scary because it's like nobody told me about this part.
Yeah.
I thought
Right. Right.
happily ever after, it was like you do all these things, check, 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 and then the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was really just the beginning for me.
That's so interesting. Because there is the school of thought by many thought leaders that the people that are the most successful have hit rock bottom at times in their life, right? Like, and you see it story after story where people have been turned down, no, that's never going to work, and then they do something, and now they're billionaires, whatever. And have been living on the street after they made millions, and then living on the street, and then back again on top of the world, better than ever. And there is something to be said for going through those times of down. Like we can't live on the mountaintop, right?
Mhm.
Because if we lived on the mountaintop, it wouldn't be a mountaintop
It'd be
anymore.
a
It'd just
valley.
be ordinary, right? Exactly, exactly. You just there's going to be highs and lows, and it's kind of what you do with the highs and lows that change your life, that make a difference. And if you choose to use your highs and lows, right? Like, uh, especially in service to others, but in service to yourself. Like, what am I going to do with this? Okay, so I'm at this low point, or I just went through this low point, or whatever. What did I learn from it? And how can I help other people with it? Or how can I help myself with it? Like, what did I learn for how can I grow? And I see that in you, Jana, that yes, you did. You've gone through some times in your life. But everything has made you stronger and better equipped for the next thing that comes along in life. And you're so open to whatever it is that life has for you, which I think also is key. I want you to talk about that. How did you get to a point where you're just so open to what do you got, life? Here I am.
Wow, what a question. Well, I think if we start with that rock bottom and mountaintop moment and turn going within, I think it was really developing first, like a foundational relationship with myself and with God, right? As I understood them at that point. Um, them, it. um, and starting to open up to an entirely new world that was outside of this physical reality that I was in, and really understanding more and learning how to love myself. And I think that journey, they say the journey from your head to your heart is the shortest and also is most difficult journey you can ever take. And so what that foundation did was, the more you embody that, then you can look back on everything from whatever happened to childhood to where a parent missed the mark to where the boy didn't say yes or didn't ask me out because I never asked anybody out. I was too afraid. But, like whatever all of these things are, because you can then heal by going back as you've cultivated this relationship with yourself and see how it all happened exactly as it needed to. And there's
Mm.
just so much gratitude because it brought you to that point. So if that's true, this makes me like emotional, then of course it's going to be the same moving forward. So if I can look back and see the wisdom and the beauty and the God and everything, then I have to have it now. And so that means I can navigate whatever comes with that same level of the word here is certainty and trust and continuing to cultivate the awareness around when I'm maybe not acting in that way or am I and when I am acting in that way so that I can snap myself out of when I get sucked into what I think of as like the 3D illusion of, there's just so much more to us. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And when you can begin to live your life that way, like really interesting things happen. And the more you trust and surrender, the more God reveals. Like I have this on my desk and it says, and I show this to my clients all the time, like expect miracles. And we've just been so conditioned and programmed. But when I broke that program, that this is how it is, and this is, what makes the key to happiness. And then I was able to open up to so much more. And so was it easy? No, but nothing worth doing ever is. Was it worth it? Absolutely. I live with so much peace and openness now. Does that mean that I'm perfect, mom? No, like don't get it twisted. But I see the gift in all things, even the things that I don't prefer. And it's like I tell my clients, like when you can navigate your business in that way, you're free. You're free, and when you operate from that, you leave so much more um, space for the things to come in. Yeah.
Ah, that's so beautiful. Okay, so there's about 10 quotes in there that are going to be in every book that anybody ever writes. People are going to be quoting you because there are so many wise things that you just said. So how incredible to get to that point where you're like acceptance, even to bring you to the certainty and to know that God's in your favor, like he's in your court, like he's rooting for you. He's not against you. He's not trying to throw up roadblocks and whatever. God is for you. God, love. It's all about love, right? And that energy and God loves you. And God is love and he loves you. And we're created in his image. So we are love. And so we should love each other, which can be a really difficult place for people to come to because I think sometimes people think it's selfish, but I think the opposite is true. I think the most selfless thing you can do is recognize your value, recognize who you truly are. Because when you recognize who you are and you love who you are, it's so much easier to love everybody else. You give love in a whole different way. You show up for people in a whole different way. You show up in the world a whole different way. So it's not selfish. There's nothing selfish about it. It's not egotistical. It's not narcissistic. It's none of those. It is the kindest, best, most wonderful, loving thing you can possibly do is to first and foremost recognize your value and who you are. Number one. So cool that you got to a point where you're like, you know what? That 8-year-old Jana, whatever was said, 10 years old, whatever was said to me, I know who I am. A lot of those things, that's not who I am. This is who I am. And to be able to walk in that is incredible. And so it shifted everything for you. How you look at business, how you look at your family, how you look at yourself, of course, but how you look at everything. Where do you think you'd be right now? Like, what is the difference between having that confidence and that love for yourself, that certainty, like you said, that knowing, uh, compared to where you were before it.
I mean, I think before I was a tumbleweed. Like whatever kind of happened in my outside world really dictated how I felt internally. If it didn't go my way, I was losing internally. If it did, I was winning. But, all we can count on is change. And so, you're just kind of like, instead of riding the wave, like you're just treading water. You know what I mean? And there's just, it, it was more victim mode. And I would never even consider myself a victim back then because I was personal develop. I'm going to do the thing and I'm going to make it all happen. Brr, 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 brr. But there still was an element, so much fear behind that. And so much, if it doesn't go my way, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I think what I'm trying to say, how you were saying, like, if God is love, how as a parent, sometimes you have to let let your children experience the things that they need to experience in order to make them who they need to become. So I think when people think surrender and trust and open up, that God is just going to be like, okay, Jana, you passed. Now it's all rainbows and sunshine. But listen, like we didn't sign up for a game like to run through daisies. Like there's no video games out there that are like, this is my game. I've invented it for all of you. You're welcome. It's called I'm going to run through daisies all day long with the sun shining and the birds. Like nobody is going to play that game, right? What's the point? And so I think where people kind of get a little off track is just because, God, the co creation and the support and the love doesn't mean that there's not challenges. I tell my clients a lot, right? Growing your business, being in business, think of it like this. It's like coming to a trainer, God in this case, and saying, I want to be an Olympic athlete. Now they don't go, okay, let's set up your daisies and your sunshine over here, right? Like they're like, okay, if this is what you want out of this life, let's start. Let's start alchemizing those fears. Let's start building those muscles. Let's start getting in those reps. Let's start getting that balance. Like, let's start really getting this going. Oh, and PS, yes, it's 24/7, And so this is not just when you feel like it. And so I think that that's a big differentiator for me because, spiritually I did fall into that for a while too. Like, but I should know better and this shouldn't be happening because I'm spiritual now and I'm a believer, but that's not it. Like it's preparation. He's preparing you for what's to come. And how do we grow? They don't call them growing pains for nothing. And so, but if you can create what I like to call, so many people are living in the lobby of the hotel, right? Like whatever somebody looks at them or like they drop something or somebody runs into them or like and it's just like they're in it like ants, like just woo, they just look chaotic, right? But when you can go up to like the 20th floor and look down on it and kind of see from that more bird's eye view, you can start to see, even have the foresight of how things are working in your favor, even when they don't look like it right now. But if you're in it, like if you're in the lobby, just like, blah, reacting and all over the place, like it's really difficult to get that bigger perspective. And so I just wanted to share that. I don't even remember what the question was, Kim, but I
Oh,
think
well, you
it's so
said,
important that I wanted to make that distinction because I think there is that misconception sometime that, oh, well, then that means everything's going to go coming up daisies. And it's not. It's having a higher perspective and vantage point so that you can see how it is truly all working for you.
that's so good. That's so good. And so true. You know, it can be so easy to get caught up in the race,
Yeah.
right? So caught up in that you can't step away and see. it's always so easy for somebody from the outside looking in to go, you know what your gifts are? You know what you should be doing? You know how you stand out, you know what you got, then looking at yourself and going, well, what I can do what? Can I? Am I? Whatever. And then you just kind of get caught up in the race of it instead of, okay, well, what's the race doing for me? What muscle am I working on now? Like where is it taking me? Where's it leading me? Like am I running in the right direction? And which is something that's so special about prayer and listening and being aware. And they call it women's intuition. Really, everybody has intuition. It's whether or not you listen to it, whether or not you're aware of it, right? And so not just women, but they call it women's intuition for a reason, because I think we are more intuitive quite often. And so we're need to pay attention to that, and need to pay attention to what's happening now that's going to make a difference in our life to come. And so that's so good, Jana. Everything you say is just so wise and so good. And I'm sure that the people that you work with are amazed by you and get so much out of you. One thing that you do, too, another Jana incredibleness is your passion for other people's happiness and success. Like there are people that work with people and it's like, okay, well, you're coaching somebody in business, you're coaching somebody in whatever, and your motive is, I got the money, this is so great, they're paying me all this money. That's wonderful. But for you, it's not about the money. I kind of look at it the same way. Like the money's the barometer. The money shows you're doing something, right? For whoever. But the true beauty, the true joy is in actually helping somebody get from where they are to where they could be. And you are just so passionate about that, about not leaving anybody high and dry, not just, give me the money and then I'll tell you the stuff and then it's up to you, do it or not. But you want to see everybody succeed. You want to see everybody go to the next level, next level, next level. And that separates you from a whole lot of people out there. And I love that that's your attitude. Where did you get that attitude? Why is that so important to you?
Well, you know how we say everything happens for a reason and as it should. I mean, and I'm no victim in this by any means, but when I started in this space, I came in, after being in the sales world for decades and was like, I can't lose. I'm amongst my kind. Finally. And I got chewed up and spit out, and I realized really quickly, luckily I'd cultivated enough of this perception and this awareness and this relationship with my higher power, God, I call it God, that I could start to see, like, I'm going through this so that one day I can help people avoid this, you know? And so it really struck me because here's what I believe. We need more money in the hands of good people. And I'm in the coaching space and, I work with healers and service-based entrepreneurs and coaches in the online business space. And, when you've got a lot of people that are just taking, 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 these people aren't able to really step in and own their true light. Like they came here to shine. And so I've become quite mission based around like really helping them because so many people are there to take from their um what's the word, from their being maybe naive or being trusting a little too, whatever it is. Like I leave all that behind because to say that what I feel like we need is more people that are dedicated to really helping these people be successful. Because I feel like a lot of these people are here for the right reasons. They truly want to heal the world. And I've met them, like the mindset and I mean, all of these things that really do change the trajectory of our entire planet. Like, just imagine if everybody loved themselves. Like, things would be so different. And so, when I saw what was happening in this space, and I was like, well, shoot, if this can happen to me as somebody that was in sales and like been around some stuff, I was like, I can't imagine, the typical, in most cases I work predominantly with females, but that's not exclusively, but and them getting taken for a ride or taken down these, paths. And so it just really quickly became part of my mission to really do what a lot of people say they're going to do. Because I don't ever want anybody, it makes me emotional. Like, I believe we're all here with a divine mission. And if you're in this space of, I need to help people, I want to serve, I want to heal the world, I want to, help people be better. A lot of the people at the end of the day, no matter how it shows up, health coaching, whatever it is, like, it's like, I just want people to like step into their potential. Anybody that's feeling that, I believe, is a divine mission for them. Like, not everybody has that. And what I don't want is people walking away from this space with their tail tucked between their legs because they tried and for whatever reason, didn't get what they needed, or maybe didn't realize how incredibly challenging it is. It's not an overnight success thing, no matter what people will tell you. It is not. Spoiler alert. And so it just became really clear to me that that's part of my mission, is to not have people, I guess I could just say it like this, give up on themselves.
Mm, wow. Wow. That's really big. Uh, because it just makes it all so personal. And sometimes people in business think that personal, it shouldn't be personal, but personal means that it's person to person, that you're looking at another person instead of putting a label on somebody like, oh, well, they're a salesperson, or they're a salesperson, and so I'm going to help them with sales. Well, first they're a person, and that happens to do sales. So, like stripping the labels away, you do make it personal, and it should be personal. Like we should be able to be personal, person to person, and when you're not, when it is just about a label, I think sometimes you lose the person in the label, because we're not the labels that people put on us. We're not that, like we call it people Democrats, Republicans, salespeople, whatever. Well, maybe you belong to a club or you belong to a party, but that's not who you are. You're Jana, I'm Kim. Like stripping the labels away, of course, everything becomes personal, as it should. There's nothing wrong with personal. It's
Absolutely
it,
not.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's not invasive. It's caring. It means that you humanly care, that it's not about money, success, or the things that sometimes the world goes, these are the benchmarks. This is what you're going for. It's not about that stuff. That stuff happens. I mean, God's cool that way. That if you love, it's coming back to you. If you do, things are going to happen. Whatever. But it's not about that. That's not what it's about. It's about the person. So of course it's personal, and um, I love that you make it personal, and that it's truly about the individual. Because I'm sure, tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me if this is right. Do you run across people sometimes that maybe aren't in the right space? They're not in the right position. They should be doing something else.
Absolutely.
And if you were just going with whatever label they were wearing, you wouldn't recognize that. You might not say to them, you know what? This gig is not for you, but man, you would shine over here, right? So how do you recommend people like tear away the labels and realize that personal and business is fine? It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing.
Well, I think what we have to do is put humans before dollar signs first and foremost. Because if you're operating at those higher levels of frequency, of love, of peace, of joy, then you will know, who the right people are for, what you have to do. One of my favorite stories one of my clients tells inside my containers is like, Jana told me I'm not a good fit. But what a beautiful thing to be able to say, to see the person, because the people I work with, whether it's other business coaches, whether it's people in the spiritual space or the wherever it is, it's deep work that they're doing. Like, I don't typically attract people that are like, I want to sell widgets. Jana, can you teach me how to create a business around widgets? No, probably not. Right. And so, if that's true, then we really have to see the person first. And I think that that's where things have gotten flip-flopped. Most businesses done, I don't have my frequency chart. I usually have it behind me, but most businesses done with the ego driving. And when the ego drives, it's about attachment, it's about control, it's about money, it's about greed, it's about let me get mine first. And we have to flip that and like I said, make it about the human first, right? Make it about service first. You hear a lot of people say, sales is service, now buy my stuff, right? Like they speak out of both sides of their mouth. But when we can truly embody what it means to be of service and lead by example. I mean, I think that's how we win as a culture, as a society, as a race. And so long as we don't and we put, this zero sum game, like I win, you lose, we all lose. We all lose.
Mm, my gosh, that's so true. That's so true. And I think, one of the signs of it, knowing that that's where you're coming from really is a place of humility and service and people. It's all about people, about the person, is when you can say to somebody, you know what, this isn't a good fit. You shouldn't be buying this house. This is too much house. Like your mortgage payments, you're going to be strapped. Like, let's look at a few others, or whatever, or this just isn't a good fit for you. When you're able to take what could have been dollars for you and value the person more than the dollars, eh, to be honest with them and just say, this car isn't the right car for you. You're not heading down the right road with this car. And but let me show you something that could be for you, or let me introduce you to somebody that could bring you to the place you want to go. That's when you know that you're looking at people over profit.
Yep. And here's the kicker, and don't do it for these reasons. Do it because it feels good to you to do. It feels in alignment, it feels pure. However, what you'll find is when you do operate in that way and say take instead of making and forcing and pushing somebody into the bigger car for the bigger commission or the bigger house, when you do that, then there's three other people that want triple that in the hopper because
Mhm.
you just led with surrender and trust and with your heart and you put that intention. Whenever I get on a call, a sales call or whatever, or on a stage, it's always the highest good for all.
Mhm.
And so when you can lead truly with that, you are blessed. And that's where I think people get it. They get so afraid. That's why that control and that attachment and letting operating from lack and scarcity is what gets people into trouble because they make decisions not the highest good for all. That's the more of the like, let me get mine. And and that leads, any decisions and actions made in fear will attract and bring more fear. So whether it's, you do get this, and I so want to have this conversation at some point, like, but what about X, Y, and Z person? They don't care about anybody else and they're a gazillionaire. I would venture to say that person is wildly unfulfilled
Mhm.
and probably miserable. So while, yes, you can step all over everybody to get where you want to go, at the end of the day, we're all human and innately within us. There's a very, very big need in our DNA to truly do the right thing, to do the golden rule, to treat other, and we can override that, but that will manifest in other ways.
Mm, yeah, so true. So true. Yeah. They're mowing outside my window. Hopefully you're not hearing it. It's
Mhm.
on my end, it's so loud, but that's life too, is people mow when you don't want them to mow, but that's okay. It's nice that they mow. Uh, I love what you just said because it is so true that you attract people, not that you're doing things because if you do it this way, you're going to attract more people, but it's just the way life is. It's just the way God is. It's just the way the world works. Is like if I walk into a room and you see somebody that is just listening and loving on people, that's the person I want to go talk to, right? That's the person you're attracted to. And it's the same. Don't be a different person in business. Be the same person in business, and you will attract people and you will have more success in so many better ways and unconventional ways, but also better, stronger ways. So one thing that you're doing too, another thing that you're doing that you're just kind of launching that I love is that um, women kind of talking to women, like you've met some incredible people that you're doing this thing with, where it's okay, ladies, let's put the crown back on.
Yes.
Let's be women in business. Let's be women first in business, right? But let's be women in
Yes.
business. And we try so hard sometimes that we take on this masculine energy, that we think we have to do things the way men do them because they set the bar or they've been the ones in charge. And it's like, there's this movie from long ago, A Man Called Peter, and it's a story of Peter Marshall. He was from Scotland, I believe. He came over to the U.S., was a Presbyterian minister, did things in an incredible way, just an incredible man. And there's a scene from that movie where he takes some of his youth group to a college campus to talk to the college students. And they show the college students, and this is back in the 40s, I think. And the women are wearing the, pants. They're dressed like men basically, and they're smoking cigarettes and they're swearing. They're broing it up, right? And this woman, Mary, who Peter ends up marrying, gets up to speak, and she says, "Ladies, we lost who we are. Like we're not men. We don't have to become men. Like there, we used to be on a pedestal. Women were revered. Women were treated in a different way. I mean, I remember a day. I'm old enough to remember a day where men would, of course, always open the door for you, and they would not swear around you. They wouldn't, be so crude around you, around women. And those days seem to be gone. I mean, there are some men that'll still open a door, but uh, otherwise, there's not a whole lot of difference. It's like for years we've almost been trying to be men in the business world, in particular, right? And it's time to take back our femininity. It's time to put the crown back on our head, right? Yes, put the crown back on your head, and get to that place where we should be and be fully, completely women. Like realize the value of that, the strength of that. When you have a table of people and it's just all men, they miss so much because there's other ways to look at things. There's other ways to do things. But when we don't bring it as women, when we get a seat at the table, but we don't bring it as women, we're doing the whole world a disservice.
Absolutely.
So talk about that a bit, what you're doing, because I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. So, I think back to early on in my sales career, right? Because it was exactly what you would imagine, right? Like ABC, always be closing, Don't take no for an answer. Push, push, all of the things. And I just couldn't do it. I tried. And here I am working for a really reputable Fortune 500 company. And I say this to empower anyone that's listening, because if 22-year-old Jana can say, no, not me, this isn't who I am, then you can too. In a world that was built for men, especially in business and in sales, like when you can stand up and be who you are in the business, in the sales process, like it's like a massive light going on. And so, you know, one of the reasons I'm now the authentic sales coach is because I took that light of doing sales. I would have male bosses go, Jenna, I don't know how it is you're doing what you're doing, but just keep doing it, top closer in the nation. And I never did it the way they told me to, or at least I tried and I couldn't. And so my point is, what we're doing now is asking women, we're putting together more of like a business leadership event. We don't know where this is all going to lead, right? Because I believe we're just leading by example and blazing a trail to say, I'm not interested. I've seen women on stage, and I'm not saying that there's not other versions of this out there. I don't actually know. What I do know is I'm inspired to lead by example and be a businesswoman, but lead like a woman and not a girl or a woman trying to do it like a man, because we do everything different. I hope this is okay to say, but I was thinking of messaging the other day. You know me, what you see is what you get. I was like, men pee standing up, women pee sitting down. We're built different. We do things different. Why are we trying to build businesses any other way? Much less the sales portion of it, right? And it's like, can we please just accept that book from the 80s? I think like men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So why are we trying to pretend like we're from Mars and trying to do it like we're from Mars when we're actually from Venus? So to answer your question, this has been on my mind and I've seen it in my space a lot. Even the female leaders there, a lot of them are still doing it the way a man would tell you to do it. And we're faced with this as a lot, like, well, say it like this and do it like this. And everything in your body as a woman is like, that is not it. But this person is a millionaire. So I'm going to do it, even though it doesn't feel right, even though it feels broy, even though it feels like out of my integrity, maybe even because I'm saying things that maybe are only half true. Whereas there is an entirely different way for us. And I'm walking proof. If I can do it in the sales world, we can certainly do it in the business world. And so, and because there are men that are more open to this as well. So to finally really like get to it, we're starting to create an event that's run by women with women speakers. I think we're going to have a few men, but it's really going to be centered around put on your crown, because here's the hard truth, any of my ladies listening. This is not to throw rocks at the dudes. Hey, they showed up, they're playing their game. But it's time for us to step up and play ours. So we can't hate on them for doing it. But let's, instead of doing that, why don't we put on our crown, straighten our crown, and do it the way we came here? We were built to do it. And so I think that's one of the reasons that people are, I don't want to say struggling, but challenged in the coaching space, in the online spaces, because we're trying to put that square peg in the round hole. And so what do we always do? Hey, if you don't see that there's a good path to follow, then freaking blaze your own trail. And so that's what we're doing. So
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. And as you keep me informed, I'm going to keep my audience informed and let you know when events are, what's happening, what you can do, how you can be involved in it,
yes.
and other things. I'm sure Jana will be back on the show to talk about it more at some point in time, which will be great. And it's going to be great. I love that you're doing this, Jana, and the other women that are doing it with you. I just think there's so much value. And you talked earlier about timing of things. This is the timing. This is the time to make it happen. So I think it's awesome. So kudos to you. Kudos to you guys. Jana, we are out of time. I can't believe it. I could talk to you and talk to you and talk to you because I love you so much. And you're so good and you have so much wisdom to share. How do you want people to reach out to you? What do you want people to do from here, knowing you and loving you?
Well, thank you all for loving me so much. No, thank you, Kim. I adore you. Again, thank you for this opportunity. To connect with me, I'm on all platforms as the Authentic Sales Coach. So find me there. I'm most active on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. But otherwise, stay tuned for what we're calling Scale Your Authority Live. And so that's that, all female run event that we're putting together to really help blaze that trail. And so I guess those would be the best ways to find me. Okay. Yeah.
That's great. And of course, we'll have everything in the show notes. And as promised, I will have it on my social and everywhere else too when you have events coming up and how people can get involved. So stay tuned because it's going to be great. I love it. I love you so much. Thank you, thank
Thank
you, thank you
you.
for being here. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us today. And until we see each other again, I just pray that you keep your heart open and you live your love loud.